Oh my gosh. So Scott, you are one of my favorite astrologers
Hmm,
ever.
thank you.
I know we've done episodes before and it's been a hot minute since we've had the chance to sit down. And I will admit selfishly, I want this episode for myself because I want to know what's in your brain and what you're seeing and what the
Hmm.
themes are. And I've heard people say, oh, 2025 is going to be a crazy year. And I'm like, well,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
kind of like, a grocery store or Walmart decorating for Christmas, and we haven't even gotten
Mhm.
to Halloween yet. You're like,
Right, totally,
well, what
yeah.
happened? So I think about that as like 2024.
Totally. Like what's going on in 2024 before we even get to 2025, right? So,
Yeah, so I feel like we need to hit the slow down button on 2024, talk about it.
mhm.
So we're going to go through the year and give everybody watching an opportunity to see and hear what you're seeing for the year ahead. And I'll come up with some questions along the way that I think I want to know, but viewers may
Sure.
want to know as well.
Sure.
Um, the website that I want everybody to go check out Scott's work at is theweeklytransit.com. Scott also has a podcast called The Weekly Transit. He makes it really easy. And I also just have to give a shout out. I know we've talked about it before, but your astrology book is like top tier.
Oh,
I love how easy it is to go through your astrology book. So if you or somebody on your holiday shopping list is into astrology, pick up Scott's book. It's amazing. So you can get everything over at theweeklytransit.com. Just
thank you.
a plug for you,
Thank you. Thank you,
because
Delisa.
I love you so much. I love your work.
Aw,
So
I love you too. So great to see you. I'm so excited to hear from you and to be connecting with you right now.
yeah, I even made tea for this special
Oh,
occasion
I
in my
love it.
Alice in Wonderland mug because we're all a little crazy or a little
Yes.
mad, however we want to say it. But yeah, so this year's been nutty for me. So this was the
Hmm.
appropriate mug for it. I personally have some just crazy ass transits coming
Hmm.
up. Uranus opposition, Uranus opposed Venus. I've got
Hmm.
Uranus going over Chiron. I got it all going on pretty soon.
Yes.
So I'm looking at 2024 with like my microscope
Hmm.
and I'll be
Hmm.
listening with intention, as should everybody else that's tuned into this episode, because it's all going to affect us very differently because
Hmm.
everyone's chart is completely different.
Exactly. Yes.
So, where do you want to start?
Well, that's a great question. I think when I think about where to start, and I know people are saying a lot about 2025 and what's going to happen in 2025. The reason why people are queuing that up is because of Saturn and Neptune are both transiting into Aries in 2025. Then they move back into Pisces and fully into Aries in 2026. So that's going to be a real monumental shift. Anytime a planet moves from one sign to the next, it is a cosmic shift. It's shifting the frequency, the tone. It's like, if you turn the light from, red to blue, it changes the vibe of the room. And so that's what happens when planets are moving into new signs. And so there's been a lot of shifting happening in terms of this Aries energy, which really began back in 2018, 2019, which is when Chiron moved into Aries. Aries is the first sign. So you ask, where do we begin? Well, let's begin with the first sign, with Aries, because this is the sign that represents your face, your personality. It represents sort of the essence of your soul. It's that flavor, that smell, that first taste that everybody gets when they are in your presence. And so this energy of the self is going through a big shift because of Chiron, which moved into Aries in 2018, 2019, and then the North Node, which joined Chiron in Aries this past year. And so that is creating this sort of redevelopment, or facing our fears, our insecurities. So that's a major theme for the year, is facing fears and insecurities. And if we look at, I'll show you this chart here. You can see here's Chiron at 15 degrees in Aries, the North Node at 21 degrees in Aries. This is January 1st. So these two key points are going to collide or conjunct with each other, which happens, this is happening from January 29th to March 10th. January 29th to March 10th. These two key points are going to be within 2 degrees of each other. As you see, as they move forward here we are like February 5th, they're within a degree of each other. They're almost a degree. So the beginning of the year, even before that happens, though, I guess we should, I don't want to jump too far ahead. So, day one of January 1st is when Mercury retrograde ends on January 1st. So we close off the year with Mercury retrograde, and then Mercury retrograde ends to begin the year. And then the first real major transit that occurs is right here on January 20th, 21st is when the Sun and Pluto move into Aquarius.
So what kind of flavor do you think that's going to bring once we get into like January 21st?
It's going to bring a flavor of community, of conversations within community. It's going to be about embracing your independence, what makes you unique. Everybody is being called to express their individuality. And so this is how Aquarius, which is symbolized by the water bearer, works with the energy of Aries, which is the ram. The water bearer is the innovator, the one who invented the jug, but did this not for themselves, but did it for the community, for the village, so that everyone in the village could have greater independence, because they didn't all have to go down to the stream each and every day to drink water and bathe like an animal. So it's important for us to think about, who are you as an individual? Who are you? What are you bringing to the table? What are you bringing to the collective, the community, the group? What is it about you that makes you unique, that is of benefit for the group? And how is what you're bringing to the group helping society progress into a new paradigm where we are all more independent? Now, the shadow side of this energy is the side that says you have to walk like me, talk like me, and act like me. If you're not fitting into the way that we, the group, are doing things, then you are ostracized from the group. We don't want to do that. That's the shadow side. We have to recognize that the group is only as strong as the diversity within the group. So we have to embrace the individuality of each member of this planet Earth.
Amen.
Yes.
It feels like as we embark into January that people may feel inspired to either volunteer at a nonprofit. They may want to join a board of a nonprofit. Maybe they want to start a community library, or they're seeing where their community needs more resources that they don't currently have, and they want to create something to make it better. That's the kind of vibe I'm feeling and sensing when you talk about the January 21st transit. So maybe people feel inspired to, like you said, invent a jug in their own way to help other people.
Yes, those are all great ideas. Absolutely. Very Aquarian. How are you contributing? How are you contributing to the greater good, so to speak? But the shadow side of that greater good is that everybody is being pushed into Well, you are not thinking right. You are not speaking right. You are not doing right. And it's not up to a single individual to decide if they are, I'm sorry, my dog's walking around right now. Like,
I know my cats are over here like
I saw your cat
running crazy.
She's okay. She's just stiff. So, you don't want people to be pigeonholing everybody into a certain specific dynamic within the group, that if you're not a certain way, then you don't belong, or we have to change you. That's the shadow side. So that is where, when we get later in the month,
I have a question for you before we go further into the month.
Sure.
I know we just teased him with the chart, but what would you say, and I'm going to put you on the spot here, if somebody just heard that, they're like, oh, well, we're supposed to be humanitarian and we're supposed to go do this and that, and I'm exhausted and I don't have anything else to give.
Right.
What do we say to those viewers that are watching that are like, yeah, that sounds good, but my cup is already empty and I need more. I don't have anything to give. So because I just feel in the collective, there's so much burnout. So what do we say to those people that are like, I got nothing to give?
Well, first of all, I hear you 100%. So you have to ask yourself, what am I getting from the group? You don't just join an organization to give, you join to get as well. And it doesn't mean that you have to, join a nonprofit or something and volunteer your time. And people that I imagine to do that are saying, well, I'm getting something out of it because now I feel good about myself, or whatever their reasons are. But also, the group is about, what are you getting from the group? If you join a group, you have to be getting, the way that this works is there has to be an equal exchange. I'm contributing to the group, but the group is also helping me. It's giving something to me for what I'm giving to the group. So if you feel like it's a one-way street where you're giving everything and not getting anything in return, then you're probably you're not involved in a group that you should be involved in. Where you should be involved is with the group that is going to support you just as you support the group.
Beautiful. No, I think that's going to help people think about it in a slightly different way, where it's not just we're being asked to give, but how can we plug into the right people, the right groups that feel aligned with us, where we want it to be, going both ways, the balance.
Exactly. And so that leads us to this point right here, when, you see that here's the sun and Pluto conjunct in Aquarius, and then over here is Chiron and the North Node, which we mentioned earlier in Aries. And Chiron is the wound, the ancient wisdom that is unlocked through healing that wound. The North Node is the soul's purpose, the karmic pathway of the soul. The sun is the giver of light, life, and vitality. Pluto's the planet of transformation. So the sun and Pluto in Aquarius is really transforming how you relate to the community, to the group. So if you're one of those people that always feels like you're giving to the group and getting nothing in return, then what do you need to transform about that dynamic? And that is where Chiron and the North Node come in, because as we get to the end of the month in early February, here we are like February 5th. Now Mercury is conjunct Pluto. So we're transforming the way that we communicate within the group, while the sun is at 15 degrees in Aquarius, forming a sextile to Chiron and the North Node in Aries. So what that's saying is, who are you within the group? What do you want from the group? And what boundaries do you need to create to protect yourself within the group? If you're going into the group and you're just an open book, well, I'll just volunteer and do whatever, then yeah, you're going to get drained. So you need to go into the group and say, this is what I'm willing to give, but this is what I want in return. And the other people within the group should be able to receive that information and say, you will get that if you give what you say you're going to give. You're going to get that and more. And If you're not hearing that and you're getting that pushback, then maybe it's time to move away from that group.
Yeah, it sounds like maybe a good activity, now into January, early February would be even taking a piece of paper and doing like what I'm giving, what I'm getting. And some
Yes.
people may even want to take it a step further and write their own like personal mission statement. Of
Yes.
why am I in this group, and how is it
Yes.
serving me and serving them, and what's my why? Why am I in this group? Because there's going
Exactly.
to be a factor in there of why you decided to be a part of the group, whether it's personal or professional, whatever kind of group you're joining. Why are you there? What purpose is it serving? So I think it sounds like a lot of January and February will be taking a look at that and what part you're playing in it.
Absolutely. That's it right there. You have to define what it is you can give and what it is you want in return, and figure out if the groups that you're involved in or the groups that you're thinking about being involved in fit those parameters.
Cool.
That's it. And that's how we build. That's how we build through the year, where the Aquarius energy is right here. Here's the Capricorn energy with Mars and Venus, and remembering the good memories of the not last time, but 2 times ago that Mars was here in Capricorn was during the beginning of COVID in 2020. So Mars is back here. 4 years later, it was here 2 years ago as well. But this is, what is worth the climb? What are your ambitions? What are your personal ambitions? So you have this Capricorn energy, which is your personal ambitions. You have this Aquarius energy, which is holding yourself accountable for what you've agreed to give to the group, holding the group accountable for what the group has agreed to give to you. Then there's Saturn and Neptune and Pisces, which is helping you restructure your unconscious, the way that you think about yourself. Are you being hard on yourself? Where do you need to show yourself more compassion, more empathy? There's also Saturn forming this sextile with Jupiter, so we talked about Chiron and Neptune in the North Node forming the conjunction, which is from January 29th to March 10th. The last time these two were conjunct within a degree of each other in Aries was January 30th to March 14th of 1969. So think about what was going on in the world back then. A lot of insecurity in society, in humanity. We're experiencing that again. So then there is Jupiter with Saturn here, which is an important aspect that hasn't happened in many, many, many years, even longer than this Chiron conjunct the North Node. And so Jupiter is expansion, Saturn is restriction. Saturn is moving through the sign that is ruled by Jupiter and Neptune, which is Pisces. Pisces is the unconscious. So Saturn in Pisces is requiring that you do the work necessary to show yourself compassion, to have faith, to trust your intuition. And when your intuition is not aligning with your reality in the way that you had expected, show yourself compassion. Be empathetic to others who are involved and have faith. So Saturn is challenging our faith. Meanwhile, Jupiter, the planet of faith, is in Taurus, which is the sign that represents the material realm, your self-worth and values. So a lot of powerful manifesting happening in the beginning part of the year, where we're being called to really go within, trust our intuition, show ourselves compassion when things don't work out the way that we intuit, be empathetic to others, have faith that everything that's occurring, the good, the bad, the ugly, is somehow, some way in accordance with the development of my soul. And it's awakening my unconscious to something that's occurring in reality, because I need to expand my reality. This world is growing. This world is evolving. The consciousness is being raised. So you as the individual have to rise with the collective consciousness. That means that you need to forgive yourself. Any guilt, shame, regret, or blame that you are experiencing within, show yourself compassion so you can integrate those thought patterns and memories with understanding, forgiveness, and love for yourself. And reflect upon your values. How do your values align with your inner world, with your unconscious thoughts coming to the surface of your conscious? Are you respecting yourself? Are you appreciating yourself and thinking about, you know, if you're volunteering for a group, or if you're getting involved in a group, or just involved in your community, and you're somebody who feels like you've been depleted, are you valuing yourself? Some people may say, well, I have to help out, you know, and it's okay that I'm being depleted, because their self-worth is not where it should be. And so they get punished, so to speak, by the universe by being depleted and drained. And they realize that, oh no, I'm actually worth more. So I need to ask for more, demand more.
Yeah. Do you think a potential shadow side of all of this is the victim story?
Mm-hmm.
Where,
Yes.
poor me, or
Mm-hmm.
nobody's helping me, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm depleted. Why don't they see everything I'm doing?
Mm-hmm.
It feels like so much of what you just said resonates with the victim triangle, of
That's
are they
exactly
playing
it.
the victim, and are they pointing fingers at a villain, or, perpetrator, and
Mm-hmm.
who's the rescuer? And it's that kind of dense, gritty energy
Mm-hmm.
that I think a lot of people could potentially stay in or fall in during these transits,
Mm-hmm.
if you're not paying attention or doing the work on your own self-worth, it sounds like.
Absolutely. 100%. This is combating the lack mentality. Nobody is going to help you. You have to help yourself. You have to ask for help. And if you want someone to help you, and that's where the group comes in. You need to ask the group for help. We need to speak up for ourselves and ask for help. And we need to help ourselves in the process by asking for help. That's it.
And be willing to accept the help, and then take the next step, or level up, or do better,
Exactly.
or pay it back, or whatever that looks like. Yeah.
Exactly.
There's so much
Exactly.
victim mentality in the world
Yes.
that I hear you talk about these transits. I'm like, oh man, it's probably going to get worse before it gets better.
Well,
Um,
and it all depends on the individual,
yeah. Yep.
so stay in your own reality. Just because bad things are happening to other people, some other place, or even in your life, doesn't mean that you need to punish yourself. You need to love yourself so that you have the love to give to others.
Filling up your own cup.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Exactly. So, I mean, you see this concentration here in the beginning of the year, where basically all the planets are in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 signs. So the other 7 signs here are empty.
Wow.
Here, we'll move the moon over into Capricorn. So now they're, everything is here. It's either Capricorn is taking responsibility for myself. Aquarius is holding myself accountable within the group construct, within the community. Pisces is forgiving myself and being empathetic to others. Aries is facing my insecurities and claiming my self-confidence, my authenticity. And Taurus is self-worth and values. These are the themes in the first quarter of the year.
That's a lot.
Yes. Yeah, and it's going to build. It's going to continue to build because, you know, there's a lot of stelliums happening in the first part of the year where you have three or more planets in a single sign. So see, by the time we get to the end of February, there's no more planets in Capricorn. So now that all the planets are literally right here in 4 signs, right here, all the planets in 4 signs: Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, and Taurus. So there's 12 signs, all the planets. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 key points or planets, 12 of them, all in 4 of the 12 signs. So by now, by the time we get to end of February, early March, hopefully you've held yourself accountable. You are taking responsibility for yourself. You're not in that victim mentality. You're saying that if I want to climb the mountain, then I have to climb the mountain. Nobody is going to carry me up the mountain. I have to use my own will and energy to ascend. So by the time we get to March, now planets in Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, and Taurus, it's more concentrated. Now that we've taken responsibility for ourselves, now we're willing to hold ourselves accountable within the group by saying, you know what, if I'm being drained by the group, guess whose fault it is? Mine. Yeah. It's my fault. If I'm drained by the group, then that's on me. So I have to contribute to the group, but I also have to make sure that I'm getting from the group what I desire from the group, from the community. We have to demand this. And if we are afraid to do it, or we don't feel like we're worthy, that's that Pisces energy. It's like, well, I don't deserve it. You know, it's my fault that this happened. I blame myself. I'm guilty for that. I'm ashamed of this. We have to forgive ourselves. 4 planets in Pisces here in March. This is a big time of forgiveness, you know, and these planets are aligning with Uranus in Taurus and Jupiter in Taurus. So there's 4 planets in Pisces, but 2 other planets that are connecting to the 4 planets in Pisces. So really, there's 6 planets that are energizing that Pisces energy, or fueling that energy. So, you know, it is about looking at your reality. What does your reality look like? Do I like my reality? No. Then I need to find a way to make peace with myself. I need to forgive myself. I need to show myself compassion. I need to be empathetic to others. No blaming other people. Everybody is having the experience that they're supposed to be having. Some are good, some are bad, some are ugly. But it's not any of the 3 all the time for any person. Sometimes for every individual, it's good. Sometimes for every individual, it's bad. Sometimes for every individual, it's ugly. But
we're here. We're doing it.
Yes, it's doing the work.
We're here. We're doing it.
Doing the work. Yes.
Those planets in Pisces. So my natal moon is in Pisces.
Yes.
So I understand it, and it's at the very top of my chart.
Yes.
I think of Pisces as all the other zodiac signs combined into the sign of Pisces. So when I see all of that Pisces, there is definitely high form, low form of Pisces. So even just mentioning people that may be numbing a lot at that period to escape the feelings of shame or the lack of forgiveness. And so they might go into this like place of despair and woe is me. I also think of Pisces as incredibly intuitive, can really feel what other people are feeling and be empathetic.
Yes.
And so having all that energy there, you can use it, as you were saying, for all of this goodness and what you want and what the group wants. Or you can go into your own self-pity and your wounds and talk about how bad everything is. So Pisces has got, as every sign does, these highs and lows. But when I see all of that in Pisces, feels like there's going to be discrepancies, you know, amongst what people are feeling as individuals, as it always is. But you may find it's front and center with all that Pisces in March.
Yes, 100%. I love that you bring that up. You know, Pisces is the final sign of the zodiac, so it carries the weight of the 11 previous signs. And with 4 planets transiting through Pisces, which when we're looking at March here is going to be the sun, the planet of light, life, and vitality, Mercury, the planet of the conscious mind and communication, Neptune, the planet of the unconscious, and Saturn, the planet of responsibility. So that is really going to thin the veil, where we're going to feel the weight of the pain and suffering of everyone around us. And so how do we do that? Do we do it through escaping, like you say, you know, through drugs and alcohol, Netflix and chill, binge watching, doom scrolling, video games, pornography? You know, music is maybe the healthiest form of escapism, but these are all forms of escapism. And there are so many forms of escapism now. Just so many ways for people to escape their reality. But with Jupiter and Uranus here, it's in Taurus, it's going to be harder to escape that reality, because Taurus is reality, it's Earth. And so people may be desperately trying to escape their reality, but it's going to, the more that they do, the harder it's going to be to escape it. So we need to go within. We need to delve within. We need to face the demons that exist within us rather than escaping. And of course, if you have to escape sometimes, you have to escape sometimes. But if you're escaping 24/7, then the reality is going to come crashing down in a very difficult way. So you need to spend some time going into those dark places within yourself and finding forgiveness.
Yeah, forgiveness seems like a big theme for this first quarter of 2024. I would also just say, as I'm hearing you speak, Scott, that if people around us are talking about suicide or self-harm, or you see that somebody is entering into drugs or relapsing, whatever it is, it feels like it could be a prime time for that. And so just being aware and paying attention to the people that are around you and asking if they're okay. And if you feel that intuitive nudge, that Pisces of, gosh, I wonder how so-and-so's doing. I would encourage you, as always, but maybe during this particular time, especially, to pick up the phone and call them. Shoot them a text and say, you know, how you doing? I haven't heard from you in a while.
Yes.
And trust that intuitive pull just to check on the people around you.
Yes. I love that you bring that up, because in addition, of course, to the Pisces energy is that Aries energy. And you see still here the North Node and Chiron, the wound and the ancient wisdom that is unlocked through healing that wound, and the North Node, the soul's purpose, both in Aries. You know, the shadow side of Aries is fear and insecurities, arrogance. The light side of Aries is confidence, courage, authenticity. So if you see people around you, you sense people around you struggling, what can you do to encourage them? To encourage them by letting them know that you are exactly as you are supposed to be. You are perfect, just the way that you are. So whatever you did in the past that you're blaming yourself for, that you're shameful of, or whatever you're afraid for the future, understand that in every present moment, you are exactly the way that you're meant to be, so that the people around you have the opportunity to see themselves in a way that they can only see themselves through you. And so that is how important each individual is, because the next time the planets and stars will be aligned in the way that they were aligned when you were born is over 25,000 years from the date, time, and place of your birth. So you are divine, you are unique, you are a miracle.
Amen. Amen. Yeah. The universe wants you to forgive yourself.
Yes.
So I hope that Q1 of 2024, people really feel that and embrace that, if not before, right? Because they could do it right now as they're listening to this.
Yes.
They have permission. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And it comes to a dramatic crescendo.
Oh boy, Scott.
Right here. Let me show you this.
Yeah, show it to us. My cat's over here like, oh my gosh. Frankie wants to be involved in the episode.
Yes, yes, because we have the solar eclipse. Well, I guess before I even show you the solar eclipse, I should also mention the lunar eclipse, which precedes the solar eclipse, which the lunar eclipse is happening literally at midnight. On at midnight on March 25th. March 25th. So that happens right here with the moon in Libra, the sun in Aries. This is the full moon lunar eclipse on March 25th. So a lot coming up here in terms of relationships. You know, by now, we still only have, aside from the moon, all these planets in 4 signs, but we've got 4 planets in Pisces. We got 4 symbols in Aries, 2 in Taurus, 1 in Aquarius. So it's concentrating into Pisces and Aries here. This is maybe what you're talking about in terms of, like, you know, looking at your close friends or your friends or the people around you and like, what do you need? Or this is what I need. Can you help me? Like releasing that fear to ask for help, to understand that you are worthy of help. You are not here alone, though it may feel like you're here alone. Other people here are experiencing similar feelings as you. So reach out, connect to other people, ask for help, offer help if you're in a position to give help. But, you know, this is releasing fears and insecurities regarding relationships, and hopefully having a deeper level of compassion and greater courage to be authentic and be yourself within these dynamics.
Sounds good.
And so that's the full moon lunar eclipse. And then that leads to April 8th at, let's see. Yeah, April 8th at, let me put this up here, 11:20 a.m. This is the big crescendo, which is the solar eclipse. The solar eclipse is going to black out the sun in the northern hemisphere.
Oh my gosh, just even looking at this chart.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, Scott, April 8th. Everybody circle this on your calendar.
Yes.
April 8th.
Yes.
Oh no.
Yes, here it all is. I mean, everything is clustered in these 4 signs, but just 1 planet in Aquarius with Pluto, 3 in Pisces with Mars action, Saturn restriction, responsibility, Neptune compassion, Venus love and relationships is here at 4 degrees, the same place where that lunar eclipse happened 2 weeks before. Now Venus is occupying that spot, which is very interesting because Venus is the planet of relationships, the planetary ruler of Libra, the sign where the lunar eclipse occurred. Then you have the North Node, the soul's purpose, karmic pathway of the soul, also in Aries. Mercury retrograde in Aries, as if, you know, it's not enough.
No.
Mercury's retrograde too. You got Jupiter and And Uranus, the planet of revolution, innovation, independence, the unexpected, with Jupiter, the god of thunder, lord of justice, the planet of luck and expansion, in Taurus, self-worth, self-worth, values. And then this 3 right here. The sun, the giver of light, life, and vitality, the moon, the planet of emotions, and Chiron, the wound, and the ancient wisdom that is unlocked through healing that wound, this Kazemi, as they call it. All 3 of these planets conjunct at 19 degrees and 24 feet. There's 60 feet in every degree, and these 3 planets are not only at the exact same degree, they're at the exact same foot, 24.
I don't think I've ever seen that in a chart before.
I mean, the last time this happened, I don't even know. I'd have to go back and look, but it's been quite some time since these 3 have aligned together in Aries during a solar eclipse. I should go back and look and see if I can figure out when that was. But the theme of it is burning off your insecurities. You want to eviscerate your insecurities. I think of it as burning the contaminated crops and retilling the soil so that you can plant new seeds in the fresh soil that are going to grow. Who are you? Moving forward, you need to be able to answer the question, who are you? And the answer that you give to who are you is going to be different than who you were prior to now. Because now you're going to be more confident, more courageous, more authentic.
So here would be my invitation, hearing all of that to people. Why not just do it now? Do the work now. Burn off the insecurities now. Forgive yourself now.
Yes.
Because if not, ... it seems like this solar eclipse in April is going to do it for you. So I kind of like being, the captain of my own ship. God laughs when you make plans, right? So I like to think, I'm, in control of what I'm doing and how I'm moving through the world. And in some degree, I think I am. So I hear that and I'm like, well, I would rather just do it now, get the journal out, ask the questions and do the meditations, because I don't want to get to April and feel like the wheels have burned off my vehicle, right? I would rather do it for myself than be slapped against the side of the head. But that's just me. Some people like to go into April and be like, sure, give it to me. But that would not be my intention.
That's why we're here though, right, Dallisa? That's why you and I are talking right now at the end of 2023 about April of 2024, because the way that you work with the energy and the reason why God has given us astrology and the awareness to understand the nature of the planets and stars and how they're influencing life on Earth is so that we can consciously work with the energy. It doesn't mean that, everything, there's not going to be a curveball thrown here and there, but when you're working with the energy, you are being supported by the energy. If you're not working with the energy, then the energy might crush you.
Yeah.
And so the way that we work with the energy here is everything that we've already talked about, where take responsibility for yourself, hold yourself accountable for what you want to achieve, hold yourself accountable for what you're contributing to the group and what the group is contributing to you. Show yourself compassion, empathy to others, have faith in trusting your intuition, forgive yourself with compassion, more compassion, forgive. And then once you've done all of that, as you are doing that, you are standing in a place of greater courage. confidence and authenticity in who you are.
I'm going to put you on the spot, Scott.
Yes, yes, yes.
You know, I love to do that.
Please.
So let's assume that somebody watching this video says, but you don't know the things I've done. I don't know how to forgive myself for those things that I carry, right? And they think that, you know, maybe we're talking about superficial things to forgive yourself for, but they're thinking to themselves, well, Scott and Dallisa have no idea what I've done and what I've been a part of. And I don't know how to get that deep within myself to heal that. What would you tell somebody, like, what would be a first step to get towards that forgiveness of self?
Well, I think if you're watching this video, then you're already there. You've taken the first step, because you are aware that you have the capacity to learn, and you have the capacity to grow. And if you have the capacity to learn and grow, then you have the capacity to forgive. Because everything that you've done that you feel that was wrong, everything that you've done that you're blaming yourself for, that you are regretting, that you feel shame for, you went through that experience so that you could learn something. So what did you learn from that experience? And once you recognize what you've learned from that experience, now you're growing, you're evolving, and you're doing the work.
That nothing is wasted.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks for answering all my questions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. For sure. It's important, you know, and the energy continues to build as Jupiter and Uranus form this conjunction in Taurus, which hasn't been formed. First of all, they're within 2 degrees of each other from April 9th. Here's April 8th. We go the next day, April 9th. And now you can see 19 degrees and 16 feet, 21 degrees and 13 feet. They're within 2 degrees of each other. They're going to be within 2 degrees of each other in Taurus from April 9th to May 2nd. The last time Jupiter, the god of thunder, lord of justice, the planet of luck and expansion, was within 2 degrees of Uranus, the primordial sky god, the planet of revolution, rebellion, innovation, independence, and the unexpected, in the fixed earth sign symbolized by the bull and ruled by Venus, the goddess of love and beauty, the planet of the senses, the sign of the senses, the 5 physical senses, the sign of self-worth and values, the sign of money. The last time this occurred was between April 26th and May 18th, 1941.
Oof. Oof.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. So this is a call for us to do things differently than we were doing things back then. Because back then was the beginning of World War II. And here we are again with the same kind of energy swirling around, where values are in conflict with one another. They're being reshaped. They're being shattered. They're being shifted. It's an earthquake that's occurring to our values. So how do we pick up the pieces?
What I heard Spirit say when you pulled up that chart and showed Jupiter and Uranus conjunct, I heard in my spirit ear, big earthquake. And whether that's a large physical earthquake somewhere, or it's an earthquake in your own life, or earthquakes in, you know, the lives of people around you. That's what they're saying. My spirit team, when you pull that up, is like that is a conjunction to pay close attention to. And with any earthquake, there will be things that will be lost, that will crumble to the ground, whether it's physically or figuratively, but there will be a rebuilding process after that, and to not lose faith.
Yep. Yep. I I have to agree with spirit.
I wasn't expecting to channel as I was sitting here. But
I
I'm like,
love
all right,
it.
fine,
I
fine.
love it. No, call them in. Call them in. I love the wisdom. You know, yes, there's going to be a massive earthquake, a tsunami, and maybe it's literal, maybe it's not, maybe it's just, you know, a metaphor. But, you know, Mars is also here, the god of war, the planet of action, aggression, and conflict through the mutable water signs symbolized by the fish, ruled by Jupiter and Neptune, the sign that rules the oceans, at 21 degrees, forming a sextile to both Jupiter and Uranus. So you have the god of war, the god of thunder, and the primordial sky god, the planet of revolution, all converging at 21 degrees. Meanwhile, the moon is going to be at 21 degrees, 20 degrees in Virgo at the same time, another earth sign. So there is a strong connection happening here. Like if you have been sleeping, this is the wake-up call. Like it's, you know, there's been a ton of wake-up calls that have been happening over the last few decades, but you know, everyone gets them at different times, but this is one of those where things are going to be happening that certain people that have been sleeping will not be able to sleep anymore. They are going to be downloaded, the new program, whether they want to be or not. For those that are working with the energy, this is master manifestation period. This is taking the possibilities that exist beyond your present reality and bringing them into your reality. The dream reality. So much energy here in that. So much power.
So April is going to just kind of knock our socks off.
April is a massive month. You know, you also have Venus and Mercury and Chiron all conjunct in Aries with the North Node. So, you know, so much energy around self-confidence and authenticity in relationships, showing up the way that you are. The sun also moves into Taurus on April 19th. And as it does right here, April 21st, 22nd, it squares Pluto. So that's more intensity, where literally like our relationship to our self-worth and our values, our money, the community, it's all going through a transformation. You may not look at your neighbor the same after this.
And, you know, we teased at the beginning of this video, like, oh, 2025 is the big year. Yeah. 2024 kind of.
Oh my God. If you're ignoring 2024, you're going to get smacked over the head in 2025. Like there is no ignoring 2024. This is going to be a massive year, especially April is, yeah, it's going to blow your socks off. It's going to be intense, you know, and my hope is that by the time we get to May, things are going to start to heal and subside in some way, where Jupiter is going to continue on and it's going to form this sextile with the sun and conjunction with the sun, and the two of them are going to form a sextile to Neptune here in Pisces. Venus and Uranus also in somewhat alignment with these planets as well. So this is an aspect between Jupiter and Neptune. They're within 2 degrees of each other from May 14th to June 1st. And the last time these two were in this alignment with each other in these signs was 1858. So this is master manifestation, reimagining the dream of what it is you want your reality to look like, reimagining the dream for your self-worth, your values, whatever happens on, in April. By the time we get to May, it's the opportunity is to reimagine your relationships, reimagine your money situation, reimagine your self-worth, your values, your relationship to the material. Mars right here is conjunct with the North Node. So all this energy urging us, you have to follow. Mars is the planetary ruler of Aries. Mars is transiting through Aries. The North Node is in Aries. If you haven't gotten the message by now that you need to create healthy boundaries for yourself, meaning anyone who's going to disrespect who I am on an authentic level, I'm going to have an issue with that person. I'm going to have to stand up for myself and say, this is who I am. This is who I am. And if you don't like it, then you don't have to be in contact with me. You can be over there and I'll be over here.
Yeah, it's reminding me of the Death and the Tower cards in tarot, where April feels like the tower is on fire. And May feels like an opportunity to become the phoenix rising from the ashes.
Yes.
So if you like the death rebirth cycle, April and May sound great for you.
Well, and I know I might have sounded intense with this Mars conjunct the North Node in Aries and needing to stand up for yourself, but at the same time, the moon is transiting through Libra. So it's going to also create that balance where you're able to stand up for yourself with grace and dignity rather than through the spirit of war.
Oh, I like that. We need more of that.
Where you can be strong.
Yeah, strong and graceful.
Exactly.
That's an art of in itself, is how to be strong and graceful. Says my Mercury in Sagittarius. That's a lesson I'm learning in this lifetime, Scott.
Yes. So should we move on?
I think so. I feel like, wow. So, this will be a video I feel like everyone should bookmark and revisit every few months and just re-listen to it again, share it with friends, with family, because knowledge is power. And when you know how these energies are going to come in and when, you work with them so much better than like just kind of doing life blindly. I mean, this is literally a map of what the sky is doing, where the planets are placed. This is not hocus pocus. This is literally a map of the sky. And when you understand the language that the sky is speaking, then you have that tool to live a better, hopefully more easeful life. So who doesn't want that kind of information?
And for those out there, and I imagine there's not many out there that are watching this that have this thought, but if you're thinking, well, what does the sky have to do with me? Well, where's the sun and the moon? They're in the sky. We're not alive, first of all, if the sun isn't there. There's no life on Earth. It is the planet of light, life, and vitality. But we know that the sun and the moon move the oceans. And the oceans weigh 1.5 quadrillion short tons. Each short ton is over 2,000 pounds. So if the sun and the moon can move the oceans, what are they doing to you? You're over 60% water. They're guiding you. They're moving you. And whether you're aware of it or not, they are doing something to you. So this is about being aware about what they're doing to you, or rather for you so
Yeah.
that you can work with the energy. If you're not working with the energy, then it feels like the planets are doing this to me. If you're working with the energy, then it feels like they're doing it for you.
The victor, victim
Yes,
choice.
exactly. Exactly. Yes. So May is when Pluto retrograde begins. And so that is all the sort of changes that have gone on with your relationship to the community. It's going to start rolling back. We're going to be revisiting that. There's so much transformation that's occurring because every time a planet moves into a new fire sign or a new air sign or a new fixed sign, they're aligning with Pluto. And so it's transformation. Like you see right here, May, right around here, May 17th is when Mercury is squaring Pluto, just as we were talking about the sun squaring Pluto. Mercury also squares Pluto. Venus was squaring Pluto earlier. That's going to transform your mind to the community. Venus, your relationship to the community. Right here is May 1st. So that's May. We're moving forward now. Mars is transiting through Aries during that point. So a lot of action, a lot of aggression, a lot of moving forward with Mars in Aries. You know, remember this was where Mars was when the whole J6 thing happened, was Mars at 29 degrees in Aries. Here it is again on June 8th. So now we're into June. There is a new sign that we've introduced now, which happens in May, which is Gemini. As Jupiter moves into Gemini, that happens right here on May 25th is when Jupiter moves into Gemini. Venus is also in Gemini. So things are going to start feeling a little lighter here as we get to the end of May and early June. Gemini is an air sign. It's mutable air. It's adaptable, changeable, go with the flow. It's, you know, let's have the conversation. Let's ask the questions. You know, what do I want to learn? How can I be a better listener? That's the energy here. But these planets are going to square the planets in Pisces. So there's going to be some sort of tension between the unconscious mind and the conscious mind. And as we get to June here, now Mars is squaring Pluto. We still have, of course, Chiron and the North Node in Aries. There's the planets in Pisces, Saturn and Neptune that we've talked about. Uranus is still in Taurus, but we've got Jupiter, Mercury, the Sun, and Venus all in Gemini. So what's happening here is there's a real conflict with Mars squaring Pluto over what's mine and what's the community. What is mine and what's the group's? There's some friction here, there's tension, there's conflict, and then there's the conflict between the Pisces energy and the Gemini energy, which is we're trying to articulate what's going on beneath the surface, but maybe it's not coming out in the way that we had hoped or intended for it to come out. It's not making sense. There could be a lot of confusion that's happening here. Jupiter is also forming a trine with Pluto, so there's some sort of expansion to the mind, to technology and the way that we're engaging in the community. Some sort of shift is happening here in June.
So yeah, this makes me think about what you were talking about earlier when we said, you know, what are you bringing to the group? What is the group bringing to you?
Mm-hmm.
June feels to me like it could be a revision to what you thought was happening in the dynamics of the group, and revisiting, is it working, is it not working, why or why not? So June, if you get to June and you're like, but wait, I thought it was this and now it's that, it feels like very much a Gemini energy of,
yes,
it was that and now it's this, exactly. And it's flipping all around.
Yep.
So don't panic if come June you're like, my life isn't quite clicking like I thought it was a few months ago. What the heck is happening? But it sounds like the universe is asking you just to revisit the dynamics, the boundaries, your confidence, and how you feel with the groups that you're in, and you may need to rework them or draw a new boundary.
Love that. Love that. Because it's like the first part of the year, the first quarter is who am I? And then by the end of the quarter, you're like, this is who I am. And no one can tell me any different. By the time we start, you know, the second quarter, we're really secure and like, this is who I am. But then halfway through the second quarter, we're like being called to see things from the other side. What's the other side of the coin? Okay, well, this is you. And now everyone's saying, well, this is me. This is me. And if everyone's so confident in expressing who they are, it's going to make you question who you are or who they are because they're different than you. And this all goes along with this Aquarius energy of accepting people's differences. Okay, Dallisa is different than me. What can I learn from her? Or what can she learn from Scott? You know, that's, so we want that lightness of asking questions, gathering information, listening so that we can learn and evolve. And then by the time we get to the end of June, now these three quick moving planets, the Sun, Venus, and Mercury, have moved into Cancer. So it's bringing more of that nurturing energy, nurturing the ideas. So the Taurus energy was defining who we are. The Gemini energy invited the question to learn from others. And now the Cancer energy is saying, let's nurture what we've learned. And by the time we get here to the 26th, now these planets start making aspects to planets in Aries and Pisces. So Venus squaring the North Node in Aries, Venus in Cancer. You know, it's looking at the past of your relationships and what are my insecurities from my past, from my roots, and how can I sort of rework that in this new the dynamic of who I am, where Mercury is aligning with Saturn. It's about being a more nurturing, compassionate, kind, and caring communicator. Because now we've seen things from the other side. And these aspects continue to build to the end of the month, aligning, squaring each other. Mercury squaring Chiron, the end of the month here, June, facing those insecurities of what it means to nurture others. And then we get into July, and Mercury is now opposing Pluto. So now we might be a little more bold than we've been in the past couple months. That Leo energy is starting to dip into the presence, where we're speaking more boldly, more confidently, more courageously, like the lion. We're being loud. Now Neptune and Saturn are moving retrograde along with Pluto. So by the time we get to month 7, we've got 3 retrograde planets, and this is where things start to slow down.
Okay, so July is a slowdown point.
Yes.
Okay, that's
and
good
we're
to know.
reflecting and reviewing and looking back at everything that we experienced through the first 6 months.
Well, thank God, it sounds like, because it feels like the first 6 months is just like wham bam, right? So we need a slowdown period. But what I love you mentioning this is, and I've felt this myself, that when there are planets in retrograde and life feels slower, it could feel like things aren't happening. Things aren't moving forward. Things are stalling. Oh my gosh, I've spent the last 6 months doing blah, blah, blah. And now what? I'm just going to sit around. So if you don't know the planets are in retrograde and you hit this period of slowdown, it could feel a bit jarring in kind of this strange, swampy way. But if you know, oh, the planets went into retrograde, I know that this is intentionally slowing me down so that I can reflect on the last 6 months. Then you're like, oh, cool. I'll just hang out, kick back, and do the work, knowing that eventually it'll kick back forward again.
Yes. It's also an opportunity to not only reflect, but to catch up with everything, all the new information that you've accumulated over the last 6
Like an
months.
integration.
Yes, integration.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's time to integrate. And when you think of that Leo energy, Leo is the sign that rules the heart. So it's about integrating this into your heart. Now the planets have kind of spread out a little more. Remember, in the beginning, they were just in like 4 signs. Now they're in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 signs. So it's like an accordion, it's like everything was like compact and restricted, or it's like restricted, and now it's like, okay, now it's expanding out. So we're able to tap into our creativity, to take what we've learned, what we've nurtured, we nurture what we learn, we take what we nurture, and now we create from what we've nurtured, creating from our heart based on our values and what we've learned, and what is authentic to me. And how that is contributing to the community and the group construct. So these are some of the major transits that are happening here. Then Venus moves into Leo. So there's going to be a really heart-centered, bold, dramatic energy coming about in relationships. Here it is opposing Pluto on July 13th. So there could be a transformation to your relationships within the community, how you relate to the community.
It could be like a summer of love. I mean, Venus and Leo, do you find, or is it like no go? Because I see, Venus and Leo, like hot, fiery, summer fun, but no,
well, I mean, Venus is in Leo every summer. Every summer Venus is in Leo.
So, I didn't realize that.
When I think about like the summer of love, which was 1969, that summer, why do they call it? There's no planet. There were planets in Leo then. But there's planets in Leo every summer. So every summer, you should take that
hot girl
that
summer,
energy.
like,
yes,
go out and live your best life.
It's an annual thing. I mean, by the time we get to July 23rd here,
when the sun moves into Scott.
Well, look, this is when it really starts. Right here, where you have 3 planets in Leo. This is when hot girl summer of love is really kicking off. Where
July 23rd. All right, let me write that down. July 23rd.
Where the sun is opposing Pluto. And so now there's energy in transforming how you are integrating within the community or the group construct. The sun is also aligning with Mars here in Gemini. So you're going to be more courageous in communicating and asking questions and engaging and being curious about what you can learn from others. Venus is also aligning with Jupiter here. So there could be a lot of connecting, happening the end of July.
Ask the person out on a date.
Yes. Yes.
That's what I'm hearing when I see that chart and I hear what you're saying. I hear if you're out and about and you're like, oh, they're cute, or go up and say the thing. Say the nice thing.
But also be mindful too that, that at this point, like, we're in the retrograde shadow.
Okay.
So, but if you're thinking about this now and you're setting your intentions now for then maybe you'll meet your partner then. Or maybe you'll deepen your relationship with your current partner now through that retrograde energy, because Mercury is retrograde in Virgo on August 4th. And you'll like this, Dallisa, because this is actually going to extend your hot girl summer of love, because Mercury is going to be back in Leo by mid-August. So it's extending that energy of communicating from your heart.
I want everyone watching this if you're hot boy summer, hot girl summer, I want it in the comments. If you are like me and you're like, yes, July, August, like we're going to do hot girl and hot boy summer, I want it in the comments. Let me know that I'm not alone, please. Okay. Thank you.
You know, and I love it. I love it. I hope we get lots of comments there because, you know, but I also want to just pump the brakes on this one thing here where you see,
okay.
here's Jupiter and Mars. They're squaring Saturn. So this is an aspect that's occurring between Jupiter in Gemini and Saturn in Pisces. So Mars and Jupiter in Gemini and Saturn in Pisces, but specifically Jupiter squaring Saturn, Jupiter in Gemini, Saturn in Pisces. This is happening from August 10th to the 29th. And then it comes back the end of the year, December 13th to January 4th of 2025. Now, the last time these two planets were in these two signs aligning with each other was 1289.
I'm sorry, the year 1289?
The year 1289.
I just want to make sure I heard you right.
Yes, exactly. 1289. So I don't know what was going on in the world. If you're a historian, put that in the comments.
Yeah, I want to hear that in the comments.
Let us know what was happening in 1289. Maybe that gives us some insight into what's happening right now. But the way that I read this is, again, it's integrating the conscious to the unconscious. And it's with Mars here involved in this alignment, which is really happening from, let's say, August 12th all the way through to August 20th. There could be a lot of confusion. It's going to be important to slow down, So if you're enjoying the summer of love, connect what is going on in your dreams to your conscious reality. Ask questions. Don't assume anything. Ask questions and then receive the answer. Use your intuition to process the answer. Ask more questions and see if the answer is aligning with your intuition. And if not, ask more questions. So
yeah, let me see if I have an example that aligns with what you're saying and seeing. Taking my example of the summer of love.
Yes.
And we've got Jupiter and Saturn in play here.
Yes.
And double checking for accuracy and not making assumptions. Whether you're in a new relationship, a current relationship that's deepening, it could be a really good time to fact check what you're thinking, believing about yourself, about the other person, so that you can carry forward in a way that is filled with grace versus believing the stories you may be telling yourself that may not be true and going into a self-sabotage or an old pattern or an old belief of why you can't have the relationship, why it'll never work, why it'll never last, whatever the stories are. So it sounds like that period of time, which I know you said we're going to revisit later on down the line again.
Yes.
But it could be a focal point of relationships that can last and relationships that may be triggering you so much because you haven't healed the things. And it could get a bit gritty.
I love all these examples that you're bringing up, especially like doing an inventory, because Venus, the planet of relationships, as this is happening by the end of mid-August, Venus is now in Virgo, and Virgo is the sign that represents the details, the inventory. It's taking stock of how your relationships are serving you and how you are serving your relationships. The opposition to Saturn, holding yourself accountable within your relationships, within the thought patterns that are existing within your mind that involve those that you're in relationship with. The squaring of Mars and Jupiter could invite or incite some conflicts within your relationships that are for the purpose of eliminating aspects within the relationships that are no longer serving the relationship. You know, of course, Mercury and the sun are going to be conjunct right here, the same degree in Leo, which is really opening your heart in the way that you speak and communicate and being bold in your self-expression. But, you know, there may also be some confusion there as well because of the retrograde, but also trining Chiron at 23 degrees in Aries, facing those insecurities that we maybe were dealing with in the earlier part of the year are now coming up again. And we really need to look within our heart to recognize, you know, what's going on here within my relationships. And just looking at all the different signs that are involved now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 signs again. Cancer is gone, but, you know, Virgo's here. So as the year goes on, things start to open up and slow down so that we can integrate everything that happened in the first part of the year.
Cool.
Yes. So should we continue?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know people watching, I hope they have their notebooks handy and a pen, because you've been going through a lot of really good information. So I'm like, bookmark this, watch it again. And I would watch it like every few months or so just to kind of refresh everything. Yeah.
Yes. Amazing. Amazing. So as we move on into September, there's another major aspect that begins in September that hasn't occurred since 1870. And I'm going to get to that in a second. You know, I'll just jump to that right now. So this aspect is Jupiter again, which is now aligning with Jupiter and so Jupiter is like really it's the main player this year, because we talked about Jupiter forming the sextile with Saturn in the early part of the year, Jupiter in Taurus forming the sextile with Saturn in Pisces. Then we talked about Jupiter in Taurus forming the conjunction with Uranus in Taurus. Then we talked about Jupiter in Gemini forming the square with Saturn in Pisces. That was the one that hasn't occurred since 1289. And now we've got Jupiter again, which is aligning with Chiron. And this aspect hasn't occurred since 1870. So Chiron is another major player. We talked about Chiron early in the year, conjunct with the North Node. This is helping that expansion of self-confidence through being so confident that you can ask the question. So these two planets are within 2 degrees of each other from September 15th to November 28th. So this is like what, 2.5 months that we're really being called to have the courage to ask the question, to expand your mind, to listen, to learn. You've been through a lot this year. You've defined who you are. You've stepped into your power. You've held yourself accountable. You are now somebody who has the courage to learn from others, to recognize that just because this person is not like me doesn't mean that I have to be afraid of them. I can actually learn from them. I can actually have a conversation in a way that is truly inquisitive, where I'm not attacking the other person, where I'm asking the question from a true place of curiosity and then listening and allowing the other individual to share with me their perspective.
Yes. And you just said a few minutes ago that it's the year of Jupiter in many ways. And Jupiter is associated with the sign of Sagittarius, right? So,
Yes.
And Pisces, right?
Yes, exactly.
So is it safe to say that people that may have planets in their natal birth chart that are Sagittarius or Pisces, do you think that they would feel these aspects, transits more this coming year?
Well, I would say yes, because Sagittarius and Pisces are both mutable signs. We're talking about Chiron, which is not a mutable sign. It's a fire sign. So, or Chiron in Aries. Aries is a cardinal sign rather than mutable, but Chiron in Aries, Aries is a fire sign. Sagittarius is a fire sign. So Aries doesn't make a strong aspect to Pisces, which is what we're talking about, which you asked about. But it does make a strong aspect to Sagittarius, though Neptune and Saturn are in Pisces. That is creating a lot of energy for Pisces, as well as Sagittarius, because Sagittarius is mutable. But Jupiter in Gemini, Gemini is also mutable. So Jupiter in Gemini is creating a greater resonating effect with the Pisces energy and the Gemini and the Sagittarius energy, because Sagittarius is opposite Gemini, Pisces is squaring Gemini. So there's a lot going on for Pisces and Gemini people, or anyone who has key planets or points in Pisces and Gemini or Sagittarius, I meant to say. Both of those, because they're the planetary ruler of Jupiter, or they're ruled by Jupiter. They are also two signs that align very strongly with the sign that Jupiter is in, which is Gemini. Yes.
So a lot of mutable placements could be activated.
Yes. Mutable placements are going to be very, very activated when Jupiter is transiting through Gemini, and along with Saturn and Neptune, which are already in transiting through Pisces and have been. Saturn moved into Pisces in March of 2023, and Neptune moved into Pisces back in 2011, 2012.
Okay.
Yes. So, and then also, as this is all happening, we're back revisiting this theme where Pluto moved back into Capricorn, which is revisiting. This happened on September 1st. This is now revisiting holding myself accountable for my goals, my ambitions, what I want to accomplish and achieve. So that's September. As we move to October, now we're back in eclipse season. Actually, I skipped over the lunar eclipse, which happens here in September, which is going to be in Pisces. So that's like releasing the unconscious, the guilt, the shame, the regret, the blame. Mid-September is a big month of forgiveness, of really looking at all the areas of your mind that you're nitpicking yourself and releasing that energy. By the time we get to October 5th is when or October 2nd is when the solar eclipse is happening. That's in Libra. So this is redefining, and this is actually happening similar to the last lunar eclipse or solar eclipse, which was in Aries, where you see that one, the solar eclipse in Aries was the sun, the moon, and Chiron conjunct. This is the sun, the moon, and Mercury conjunct. So this is giving us the ability to set our intentions, to be a better communicator in our relationships, to be graceful and charming in expressing ourselves. We've learned who we are. We've learned more about other people. And now hopefully we're making peace in our relationships.
I like that.
Yes.
Yeah, that one feels a lot better than the one in the spring.
The one in the spring is going to be, an ass kicker. It's going to, boot you into shape, into being who you're meant to be. And then by the time we get to the fall, now we know who we are. And now that we know who we are as individuals, we can be better partners. We're presenting ourselves for who we are and not trying to be someone that we're not.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yes. On to November, and
let's look at November. I mean, why not at this point? I mean, I feel like I just lived 2024 already. So.
I know, right? It's like, my God, wow, what a year. So November, wow, what's happening there? We've got our third Mercury retrograde, which happens in November. We talked about briefly, we graced over the first one, which is in Aries, the second one, which is Virgo, back to Leo, and then the third and final retrograde for the year is in Sagittarius. And November is also when Mars transits into Leo, and that's going to be an extended transit because Mars is going to be retrograde in Leo. So as we get over here, Mercury, let's get to November. Here's where Mercury retrograde, you see it slows down the end of November. Mars is in Leo. So riffing off of that solar eclipse in Libra, being a better communicator, we move into Scorpio season, deepen the bond, and then by the end of November, we're in Sagittarius season. But that hot girl summer or summer of love, it's kind of extended here because Mars is in Leo. Mars transits into Leo on November 3rd. And before it, or as it does, November 3rd right here, look at this. Early November, that is when Mars at 29 degrees in Cancer opposes Pluto at 29 degrees in Capricorn. So this is major tension in terms of home life and career or achievement, ambitions, and how we take that into the next season here, where Pluto moves into Aquarius with Mars in Leo, like expressing your heart through your actions in your community to really protect your emotions and your relationship to your home and your past, your ancestry, and what you want looking forward to achieve, not only for yourself, but within the community. But then these planets transiting through Sagittarius, the filters being ripped off. You know, this is right after the US presidential election, which is happening when? Like right here, November 5th, where you got Venus and Mercury in Sagittarius, Mars in Leo, Pluto about to transit into Aquarius. A lot of shifting, a lot of fire here in the fall. Fire continues into the fall, into the end of November and into December. And that Mercury retrograde aligning here with Chiron. I mean, just all of this fire opposing Jupiter. Jupiter's now retrograde. We've got, by the time we get to December, we've got, not counting the moon, we've got Mercury, the sun, Mars, Chiron, and the North Node all in fire signs. So that's 5 planets or key points in fire signs, and then 2 planets in air, where there's only 1, 2, 3, 4 planets in water or earth. So something's going to happen at the end of the year, end of November into December, where there's going to be a lot of movement. And it could feel like we're moving back too with these retrograde planets. So Pluto is now moving direct and forward. So it's like there is some progression that's happening, but we're also revisiting everything that we've already gone over. and we're relearning things about people that we've learned before. We're looking at things from that other side of the coin. And we've got to sit with it, and we've got to work with it, and we've got to speak up and speak out and see where it takes us. And we have to act from our heart center. There's going to be a lot of stagnation moving into 2025 because of Mars retrograde. If you remember, in 2022 is when Mars was retrograde in Gemini. And so see, it moves retrograde right here around December 6th, 7th is when the retrograde begins. So by the time we get to the end of the year, there could be, I don't want to say like disappointment for people, but there's going to be, it's going to be like really looking back into your heart. You know, what's important to you on a heart level? What do you want to achieve, or what do you want to create? How do you want to express yourself? Yeah.
What does a Mars retrograde typically bring with it? I know you said you don't want to tell people they might be disappointed, but what characteristics usually?
I think of it as like trying to run up an escalator that's moving down.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, you know, you're running as fast as you can, but you're not really getting anywhere.
Okay.
And so, you know, Mars in Leo is activating the heart, creativity, boldness, being dramatic and playful and fun, and that, you know, everlasting summer. But with Mars moving retrograde, it's the planet, it's the go energy. It's the planet that's moving us forward. Well, now it's moving backwards. Okay. So it's like driving in reverse. It's like you're hitting the gas, but you're driving in reverse. Like, oh my God, you know? So we got to slow down. We got to slow down. Whatever, you know, it kind of feels like, and maybe this is why people have a lot of anticipation to 2025, because it is going to be, it's going to be a very rough dismount from 2024 to 2025.
Okay.
Like the 2024 is going to end in a way that may not feel good. And so it's going to challenge your heart. It's going to really challenge your heart to be bold, to be open, to be loving. It may be harder to be loving than it has been.
Yeah. How do you keep your heart open in spite of it all?
From everything that you've learned in the year prior. Don't throw out 2024. 2024 is a year to really learn who you are, learn what your values are, learn how those values relate to the greater construct of the community or the group. It's a year of redefining how you think about yourself, how you speak to yourself. It's a year of, once you've done all that, being open to learning from others. And when you learn from others, it might make you question yourself. It might make you question them. It might create the whole construct of what seems like everything you've built crumble. But remember who you are. Remember what you value. Remember what you've learned. And remember to speak to yourself with respect. And to speak with others. Speak to others with respect as well. And if you're doing that and your heart's open, then this backslide is just going to feel like the thing that you need to get, that's giving you more time to get what you want, to get patience to where you want to be. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I'm hearing patience for the end of the year.
Exactly.
And understanding that everything that you're going through in your life is happening for your growth, as you mentioned earlier in the video. And that backslide is positioning you where you actually need to be, rather than maybe where you were trying to force your hand and getting somewhere. Maybe the perspective could be repositioning. It feels like a bumpy year, and I know it's felt that way for a while now.
It's going to be a bumpy decade.
Yeah.
I mean, like they're going to look back at the decade of the 20s as like, wow, people lived through that.
And hopefully came out of it with such huge hearts for themselves and for others, and that their resiliency sets an example for future generations of how to do it and how to do it with grace. I just heard them say, my spirit team, you will be tested. You will be tested. And I know that might sound scary, and I don't want to, spark fear in people. But I think what I would say to that is, in 2024 and today, as you're listening to this, wherever you're at in the world, could you just take a bit more time out of your busy schedule for yourself to sit and reflect and create art or journal or meditate or take walks in nature, and maybe just ask yourself in 2024, why did my soul incarnate now? And whatever comes out of that question and that time spent asking it, maybe that could become your northern star for 2024. Because if you really go back into yourself and into your roots and where you came from and why you're here now, maybe that will allow you to be in peace, practice peace, and move through the year a little bit easier, just knowing that you're here for a profound reason.
Yes. Yes. Beautiful. Beautiful. Exactly.
God, it's a doozy.
Yeah. But that's why we're here. We're here
that's why we're here.
Exactly. It's like everything you said, like you will be tested. Why is anyone tested? You're tested because you want to get the degree. You want to go from here to here. And so in order to go from here to here, you have to be tested. And so I would only fear the test if it was something that I was avoiding, if it was something that I wasn't preparing for, if it was something that I wasn't studying for, I wasn't doing the work. If you're doing the work, if you are committed to the work and knowing that you will be tested, and you're committed to taking the test because that's why you're here in the first place, that's why we're in the school of life, that's why we're on planet Earth, which is the school of our souls. It's just a test. It's not you will be tested. It's just a test. And I get tested all the time, and I'm preparing all the time for the tests. It's only something to be afraid of if you haven't been preparing. And if you haven't been preparing, the test will get you to prepare. Because when you fail a test, you're like, oh, I need to study for that next time. And you go back and take the test. And that's the thing. They'll give you another test.
Yeah, they will. And it'll probably be harder next time. So you might just want to learn it now. You might just want to learn it now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, the more that you avoid the test, the harder the test becomes.
Yeah.
But the more that you engage in being willing to take the test gets harder, but you get better at taking the tests. So it's just like, if
you're your own best friend.
Yeah, exactly.
You are your own best friend, and you will get through this. You will get through this, whatever it brings, whatever the year ahead brings. And I'm sure we can't even imagine, as we're recording this video, you know, in advance of 2024, what all of the viewers are going to go through in 2024. We can't imagine it.
Yes.
And there will be so many things, and I guarantee that every single person watching this will experience really, really high highs and probably some really low lows. But it is that flavor of life and why we're here and why we're experiencing it, and remembering that this is all temporary. The highs and the lows are all temporary, and you will get through it. And try to lessen your grip on controlling how it's going to unfold. And if you can see it as you laying on your back, floating down a river, and you're allowing yourself to work with the energy, and you're allowing yourself to have the experiences and the forgiveness of self and others, it could be a really profound, magical year.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
I love it. I love
Ooh,
it.
I know. Do you think we should close it out now?
Yeah, sure. Sounds good. Sounds good, Dallisa.
Oh,
Yes.
mercy, mercy. Well, I hope everybody watching this loves Scott as much as I love Scott and his work. So as I mentioned at the top of the video, you can find out more at theweeklytransit.com. This podcast is called The Weekly Transit. You can find it wherever you listen to podcasts. Also go subscribe to him on his YouTube channel. And hopefully you've subscribed to this YouTube channel and you've given it a thumbs up. And I'll include more information in the show notes. And so we hope that you continue to connect with us, both myself and Scott. And then when we come together and do videos like this, we hope you watch it, enjoy it, and share it. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. And thank you, Scott, for sharing all of your wisdom, your knowledge. It's been an absolute joy.
Yes.
I love talking to you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I love talking to you as well. I love you. And if you're watching this video, I love you as well. I'm sending everyone that's watching this good vibes, positive vibes. The reason why we're here is to help you navigate this energy to the benefit of yourself. So very grateful.
Amen.
Thank
Amen.
you, Dallisa.
Until next time.
Until next time. Yes.
All right. Bye for now.
Bye, Dallisa.